Good morning, everyone. What you need most, really, if you are below expert level, really, but especially in the 1200 to 1600 range, what you need most is the most neglected area of chess, and I call it the fighting principles. You don't need opening play. You don't need endgame play. I know you're going to think I'm nuts here, but it's true. I was beating experts way back when in tournament, over-the-board tournament play with just fighting principle knowledge. So here we go. And it has to do with gaining the initiative and, of course, having your tactics up to snuff. But, okay, so I play c5 against e4. And, okay, so when I play e6, okay, he attacks it, the center, as you should. He takes, I develop. If he takes my knight, I will recapture with the b pawn, and I'll get these strong center pawns. So the center is critical in chess. Okay. He takes, I take back. And now I push forward, right? I want to get that center. Maybe not the best move, but let's see. Okay. Let's look at the computer evaluation. I'll have that up here. Okay. This is a 10-minute game, by the way. First one I'm going to show you, this is from Lichess, and then the second one is from chess.com. This is against a 21-something player, and the other one's against a 19-something player. All right, so the evaluation is not great for black here, but you have to play the game. All right, so the computer would prefer the knight attacking my queen. He throws the check in, I block. I want to get rid of my... Look, my pawns are on dark squares. Okay, this is middle game understanding, right? This is positional understanding. You want to have the most mobility and activity for your pieces. This is fighting principle stuff. So, I'm happy to trade off my light squared bishop. And he obliges, and I take. Now look at the evaluation, right? So he was winning, evaluation-wise, but because he chose the wrong strategic idea, deciding which pieces to trade is a major decision, right? Because then, it determines where pieces can maneuver around the board, right? All right, so I develop, he attacks, I develop, I block, I defend. All right, is there a threat? Of course, that's always the first thing on your mind. Watch my other videos where I cover a lot of the basic stuff. I'm just going to focus on what I want to show you in this game, instruction-wise. All right, so I castle. Now, I have these two open files for my rooks, and that's the name of the game here now. Evaluation looks good for black. All right, he develops, and all right, what is a threat? He has a threat. If I move my knight, what he's doing, this is really good on his part. This is another fighting principle. If you can compromise your opponent's pieces through an indirect pin, so this knight is temporarily pinned. If he moves away, I get checkmated with the queen and bishop piece coordination or piece networking on the g7 square. So this knight now is pinned. Yeah. All right. So I take the open file and create a threat attacking the b2 pawn. And he defends it. Evaluation is looking good. All right, I got to maintain it. Okay, so I want to get rid of that compromised knight and over defend the pawn. I know it's a backward move, but it's suitable for now, and I have a new plan now. I want to play f6. I want to use since I have a majority here, this is the other main thing about understanding fighting principles. This applies to anything. To any warfare, right? You strike where you have an advantage, right? And you strike where your opponent has a weakness. So my advantage are these central pawns, right? So I have a pawn majority up the center. So I want to push my pawns up the center. So this becomes the strategic plan, right? The long-range strategic plan. So now he sees that. See, he's a pretty good player. Think about this. He knows I want to push f6. Now he's preventing me. This is his style now. This is the other thing. humans are psychological, and so your personality is revealed in chess, and the better you can determine your opponent's personality, the more you can predict the types of moves he might make. Notice this is a second indirect pin now. This pawn can't move. I mean, he knows my plan is to push, so now he's got 2 attackers on the e6 pawn, right? Okay, so this tells me 2 things: he's a decent player, and secondly, he's a little defensive. Yeah, I mean, he's still keeping pressure on this, so this knight is still indirectly pinned. So this is okay. This is good play. But it's not my style. So yeah, no, these types of moves, trust me, are critical to know in chess. This concept of indirect pins. All right, and that's what the best players do when they need to do it. That's the whole thing. So now he's trying to mobilize his pieces over to the king's side. So I'm getting compromised. He's going to have a forced majority, right, very soon over there, and you have to be really careful when that happens, because you will lose. That's a real justification for successful attack. Is the force majeure, right? Okay, so I'm doing the similar thing. This is a direct pin on this, and I'm getting my men over there for defense as well. So I'm not thinking offense too much right now. So anyway, I saw a way to break up his attacking pieces. That's the thing. So if he's getting the jump on you, now you have to, this is another fighting principle concept. If you see that your opponent is getting the attack edge on you, that's when you got to switch over to defanging the snake, right? Or defanging the tiger. I'm mixing metaphors here because I want to use my snake metaphor later. So I see some basic tactic here, and it helps me just relieve the pressure, right? And so I pin the queen and get the rook back. Now he really should have defended that rook and not give me a bad, create a bad pawn. Pawn structure, right? Time, space, force, pawn structure. Now I have something to work with. Look at the evaluation. It's jumping up. And this is what happens, right? Your opponent doesn't always play the best moves, and you create one of the weaknesses that you want, all right? So now this pawn is the name of the game. Yeah, he's compromised over here a bit too. If this knight is indirectly pinned, if he moves, I get this is a direct pin. If he moves, I get this pawn. If this pawn moves, I get the knight. So that's the other thing. You tie this is a fighting principle. You tie your opponent's pieces down by attacking pieces. Make sure you're attacking something. The more you can attack with one piece, then slowly the opponent gets compromised and he's more likely to make an error, as long as it's furthering your long-term strategic plan. Of course, now mine has shifted over to his weakness now, this isolated pawn. All right, attack his queen, and yeah, so now I'm actually really thinking about this pawn. I mean, because that's his main weakness, and I'm thinking about ways of ganging up on that pawn. So now he has a threat. That's one reason I slid back. And also this is a time issue, right? I don't want to devote too much time. He's got this back rank check, right? And then I'm compromised. So I go back to prevent that. And, now he has a threat. What is the threat? Ask that question on each and every move. He can take this. This pawn is pinned. The pawn is a major thing. That's why I call it power move number 4. It's a strategic move. Okay, I get out of the pin. He can't take the knight now. He slides in. Yeah. He's worming. He's snaking in, right? I call it, you snake your way into your opponent's position and then you squeeze, right? So, but power move number 2 is the attack on the queen, right? So I go for that. And again, I kind of want to, I want to get my also, I do still have the pawn majority up the center. And I want to relieve this pressure. I defend the knight this way. Now, another instructive thing, another fighting principle. if you have a man in your territory, an enemy in your territory, one of your first goals is to eject him, because this is pressure. This knight is pressuring this pawn, it's pressuring this pawn. He should eject me, probably now, because then I can build pressure on those already attacked pieces or pawns. He doesn't eject me, and now I'm going to go work on that weak pawn for sure. So yeah, I do it this way with tempo, right? With tempo, another big fighting principle. Move with tempo so you can maintain the initiative. So I'm attacking this undefended pawn, and then my goal is to snake my way into his position. Otherwise, because guess what? You're attacking more targets when you are deep in enemy territory. That's part of the idea of having an outpost, right? But with the major pieces, since they're so maneuverable, unlike the knights, you can snake your way in and out. All right, so now I'm attacking the undefended knight, see, with tempo. And look, this is because I have this concept of snaking my way into enemy territory, and which I did. This is the thing. When I discovered that concept many years ago, I started beating experts because my only weapon was in the initiative. That was my and a fair amount of tactical ability, but nothing to write home about, nothing too special. But you had to back it up with some tactics, but always with the idea of maintaining the initiative. Now, he should probably have swung back with his knight, because I would keep my queen from snaking in with tempo, attacking the undefended rook. Yeah? All right. So he's got to move the rook unless he can create an equal or better counterattack. Right? I call that the winning formula. So he doesn't have that, and now I get the pawn, and he technically won game now. I mean, I think the computer would prefer that I take with the knight, but I'm happy to go into positionally one endgame. So I have an advantage, a true advantage now. I have 5-6 pawns against 5. He's got this weakness here. I have a passed pawn. That's the other key thing. I have a passed pawn, right? This pawn actually is passed. So I'll show you the technique. I didn't do it as efficiently, but you also want to be precise and efficient as you can. He's pressuring this my weakness, and my knight is pinned again. So this is threatened by the rook. Now here's the thing. You have to make these big decisions. If I can't take with the rook, this pawn, because he wins my knight. If I take with the knight, my rook is undefended, power move number 3. So he could pin it immediately like this, right, with the rook behind the knight. And then I'd be compromised, right? He'd start pressuring that. I don't want to do that because then I don't have the initiative anymore. So you avoid those lines. And he could probably maybe pressure it with the knight. But anyway, nonetheless, I didn't do that. I defended the knight. Outpost, right? Keep your man in there if you can keep him in there. All right, and then I defended this way. I could have defended the other way anyway. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect technique, but good. Now I finally get that g5 pawn in. I'm feeling really good now. And I am eyeing this, but the problem is he can't snake in now. It's a little bad for him. The whole thing is bad. You'll see the evaluation just keeps jumping up in favor of black because of my mobile center and my passed pawn. So check, he goes up, and now I attack the rook because the pawn is now defended, and he runs. I could have gotten away with, well, I'll just show you what happened, and you can go back and look at how it could have been done more efficiently. So now I check him. He slides over, and I think now I get my rook behind it. Yeah, so you can start thinking about sacrificing material. And of course, his time. He's got 3 minutes. I've got 1 minute something. So I check him. He's the wounded bear. He'll check, and anyway, game over because I'm going to get a queen. There's no way you can stop it. I hope you got something out of it, and thumbs up if you did. And I think that's probably enough for this one. I'll show you the other snaking one at chess.com another time. Take care. Bye-bye.